Welcome to Edison TV. I'm Jo Price, here to explore the investment case of Edison client Itaconix. This is a business on a mission to decarbonise the everyday house and personal care products we all take for granted. And Itaconix has already had significant success in selling new, sustainable ingredients into one FMCG market, dishwasher tablets. Now, many manufacturers, including Palmolive, have reformulated their products with Itaconix. What investors may now well be asking themselves is whether the team can replicate this success across other geographies and other product categories, because together that could deliver exponential growth. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, the background. Sustainable goods and services are firmly on political and personal agendas. More than 31.1 million electric vehicles are set to be sold every year by 2030. And yet, it is estimated that in the same year, the world will be burning 120% of the fossil fuels, which would allow us to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Now, this reveals one of humanity's guilty truths. Businesses and consumers often only switch to sustainable alternatives when two preconditions are met. Firstly, when costs are roughly the same, and secondly, the sustainable replacement needs to perform at least as well as the carbon-heavy original. Which is why many sectors, from heavy industries to consumer goods manufacture, face significant difficulties along the route to net zero 2050. Revolutions in sustainable technologies that deliver better performance at lower costs take time and capital to deliver. In fact, many of the much-needed solutions are currently nothing but science fiction, which is why those who know the business well are hoping London-listed Itaconix, with its here and now science facts making ingredients for everyday home care and personal care products, is set to experience exponential growth. Itaconix's plant-based products are not only more sustainable, they are attractively priced and have unique functionality that the company claims outperforms fossil fuel-based competitors. And a good start on market penetration has been made. More than 120 brands have already adopted Itaconix ingredients. In fact, its technology is embedded in dishwasher tablets and other products on almost every supermarket shelf across North America. But the management team are clear, this is just the beginning. The company's total addressable market is the world's $20 billion of annual spend on fossil fuel-based acrylic polymers. Itaconix believes its plant-based ingredients could be used in the next generation of laundry detergents, air fresheners, hair care products, and underarm deodorants. So how much of this potential can Itaconix capture? Well, to help us make some judgments, we've invited CEO John Shaw into the Edison Research Studio to tell us more. A very warm welcome, John. Hello.
Hi, Jo.
If we could get right into it, John, here. First up, how deeply have you managed to get into the dishwasher detergent market?
Well, there's great trends going on in terms of buying behaviors that are highly favorable to us. As consumers look for a broad range of choices for both performance, discount, saving money, and being more sustainable, what you find is the retailers are having to adjust the choices that they have on their shelf to cover all of those. What that turns into us is very high growth rate for us. We did $2.6 million in revenues last year. That's a 40% compound annual growth rate from where we were in 2018 and 2019. Underneath that is the ability in each one of those categories to bring high value to any brand across that. So when you go into any retail store in North America right now, where we focused our particular success right now, you will find brands. It's almost impossible to not find a brand that isn't based on the success that we're having. Now, as you get more success with brands, we start circling all the other brands on the shelf, and then those other brands start coming back to us. It's almost a competitive imperative to be using formulations based on our ingredients. So we have tremendous inertia in place in North America. The next one for us is to have that same success in Europe. We are already having some success in the green detergent brands. We have some very exciting developments coming up in the next 6 months in Europe here on that front. But the big breakthroughs when we get into some of the standard and the performance and the discount brands in Europe, and that's when we really break out into really hyper growth into much higher numbers. And I see both of those happening here in Europe, where we're replicating this success across all three of those categories with major players in both continents.
Great. If I could just touch on that, John, how are you going to crack all of those other segments, if you don't mind me asking? The potential applications of your technology seem very broad. Do you think it's too diffuse?
Well, if you look at the formula that we have for success in automatic dish detergents, we think we can replicate that, and we're very good at replicating that model because we're very disciplined and very focused of bringing next generation formulations that give decisive advantages to the brands that use us. We've done that in automatic dish detergent, where we looked at the technologies and the capabilities that we could bring to a formulation. We matched that up with what the trends were in the reformulation activity of what the consumers and retailers are looking for, and we matched those up into something that we know is an opportunity. Go out there and get ignition with the first early adopters. We did that in automatic dish detergent. We're well into kind of turning that into hyper growth. Now go replicate that process into a new market. And the one we're focusing on right now is hygiene across diapers, nappies, and adult incontinence areas, where we have two technology, both odor neutralization and plant-based superabsorption to bring in there. And those are two really highly valuable aspects and properties and claims to bring in those areas, and we're just working now to match those up into a big opportunity so we get initial ignition there. So I think each opportunity has its challenges and its risks, but the reliability of the process that we have to apply our technology to make sure we have the next generation formulation in place, I think is really, we feel very certain about it. There's a difference when we feel certain about it and when we have the numbers to show the market on it. But the internal conviction is pretty high when we get into those areas.
May I ask what challenges you see ahead as you scale, John?
On our production side of it, there's not a lot because we have a well-established production process. It's very low capital intensity. You know, with $1.5 million, $2 million worth of capital equipment, we can generate 10 million plus in revenue on it. And we've been producing now for well over 10 years. It's a very mature process of it. And then the raw materials that come in, the key one we have is itaconic acid. That's our unique position in the market, is making polymers from itaconic acid. And there's we're still a minor percentage of the overall consumption for that raw material. But as we grow, I think marrying those up and having itaconic acid fermentation go right into our production process, that's when it'll get really exciting. And I can envision the day when we have an integrated plant in North America and an integrated plant here in Europe. And you know, that's when we get into the hundreds of millions of dollars, not the tens of millions of dollars that we're targeting right now. And I think we'll get there, and it'll be an exciting time.
So you've got that cross-Atlantic development there. Where do you see Itaconix will end up eventually?
We're going to have a major difference in at least 3 or 4 large categories where we bring both performance, cost, and sustainability to it. I think, you know, our near-term targets is in the kind of $50 to $100 million category from what I think we have, but we have a lot of runway available to even be a much larger company in the long run on it. Our goal right now is to make sure we continue our growth rates. We've been going at about a 40% compound annual growth rate. We need to hit those numbers in the next 2 to 3 years to get ourselves up above the levels we are to the first level of success in the kind of $10 to $20 million range. And then we have a very long future ahead of us once we achieve that.
Well, best of luck. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you for watching. I do hope we've shed some light on Itaconix for you. If you would, however, like more information, please take a look at the Investor Relations section of their website.